The film starts off involved in a strict Shaolin monastery. It includes numerous younger guys competing to be the fine kung fu grasp of all time. The maximum naive and untalented one in every of all of them is a younger guy named Little Mute who does not communicate for an unknown cause. He struggles to maintain up together along with his fellow college students, making him the guffawing inventory. One afternoon the grasp orders all his students to do a unique project. With a view to assist them examine the well-known weightless approach, he asks them to fetch complete buckets of water from a river whilst sporting heavy iron footwear that weigh extra than 5 kilograms on every leg. No longer simply that. However, after filling the buckets, they ought to stroll a mile uphill. When they grasp this approach, they'll be like birds capable of soar on roofs and carry out aerial acrobatics. Little Mute's classmates see that he's enthusiastic about the project and permit him to head first. They may be so assured in his incompetence that they realize he might be the final one to finish the project that they predicted. He fills the bucket early, however can slightly stroll with the footwear. Weighing him down, absolutely each person surpasses him, leaving him the final one. Hiking the hill, ultimately he even drops the bucket and sits down hopelessly. He has been attempting his very fine to continue to exist with things at the monastery, however a failure like this shakes his spirit as he thinks approximately how he were given thus far in lifestyles. We're taken to a flashback some years in the past. Little Mute's father became killed through a masked robber for money. The killer became a kung fu grasp who beat them up badly earlier than killing the person. Therefore the best cause Little Mute joined the monastery is to turn out to be professional sufficient to kill the assassin in the future. Misplaced in his notion he best comes return to truth whilst a nun procedures him on. Given that he has given up at the project, she encourages him with motivating phrases. The nun's call is 5 plums and he or she is additionally a kung fu professional. After speaking to her for a whilst, Little Mute completes the take a look at. With terrific effort, however, seeing that he's the final one, the grasp calls him lazy. He even well known shows that no pupil in numerous years has taken so long as him to finish the project. Little Mute is made to cut wooden for the complete month as punishment whilst he's doing so outdoor the monastery. He's approached through a half-breed monk. First of all the guys blab her something approximately perseverance in kung fu, which Little Mute has no hobby in. However, that he well known shows a mystery approximately the monastery. The two become in a hidden chamber at the back of the waterfall in which best the excessive degree masters are allowed to return back there. An antique guy has been held prisoner together along with his fingers and legs chained to the wall. To Little Mute, who does not realize what the person's crime became. The punishment appears irrational and vicious. Clergymen arrive with things at the cave and deliver the prisoner meals and water. After they depart, Little Mute comes into view and allows the prisoner consume. The gesture wins the prisoner's trust. He reveals out Little Mute isn't one of the monk's minions. He devours the meals and asks the child to carry him wine. The subsequent time I have were given 50 greenbacks. That asserts the prisoner killed Little Mute's dad with things at the following scene. The fun pupil of the monastery receives geared up for the very last project that each pupil need to entire earlier than graduating from the Shaolin monastery. The project's call is the wood take a look at, in which someone need to input a slim hallway containing 36 displaying wooden guys. They may be mechanical dummies that assault absolutely each person who enters the hallway with terrific velocity and strength. Every one of the mechanical dummies is 50 instances quicker and more potent than a mean human. So the project is extraordinarily difficult. The pupil enters with self-assurance, however is overwhelmed so badly that he needs to be carried out, or the grasp reprimands him for being overconfident and lectures absolutely each person else to take it as a lesson to in no way underestimate the very last project. Following day, for the duration of lunch, Little Mute saves a bun beneath his garments for the prisoner. He additionally steals a little bit of wine from the drunken mug. Then whilst nobody is looking, he returns to the cave at the back of the waterfall and meets the prisoner once more. The person loudly beverages the wine and guarantees to praise him. Whilst he escapes the jail, the two chat for a long term, approximately the wood project, and step with the prisoner. The take a look at is a funny story. He claims that he might have torn the wood guys aside very quickly if it had been, and Little Mute listens to him attentively, however does not always agree with him. The prisoner additionally well known shows that the cause for his imprisonment he became working towards a brand new kung fu approach known as Lion's Roar. The clergyman did not like that. He became getting extra effective in their complete lot, so that they apprehended him the following day. Little Mute is assigned a kitchen obligation and attempts to thieve wine for the second time. However, the monk catches him this time and teaches him a lesson. He's ordered to easy the kitchen each day till the cease of the month. As punishment, after sweeping the kitchen spotlessly easy for hours, he impresses the drunken monk and is allowed off the hook. This time later he once more is going to the prisoner with meals inspired through his kindness. The person comes to a decision to train in kung fu strategies, despite the fact that he's chained. His strategies are broadly speaking special from that of the clergyman, however Little Mute keeps to examine them with diligence. There are a few standards that the prisoner stands through, however Little Mute does not believe, like ignoring the guideline of thumb of Shaolin altogether and usually finishing the warfare with a kill in place of following such rules. Little Mute will become the prisoner's fine scholar and works difficult for the following few months. One afternoon he's working towards outdoor the cave whilst Five Plum sees him. She notices that the kung fu fashion he's working towards isn't the standard one taught within at the monastery. It's miles risky and ordinarily utilized by criminals who divert from the route of what real kung fu teaches. She advises Little Mute that a person have to in no way examine kung fu to unfold violence. Evil. It's miles a sacred artwork that one need to use best to shield themselves and others. The kung fu he's getting to know defeats its purpose, therefore he'll opt to unlearn the artwork. Five Plums then begins a fit-involved education him within it the gliding snake fashion. The precept of this fashion of kung fu is the complete opposite of the fashion that the prisoner is coaching, and Little Mute keeps getting to know from each masters into the choice to select among their standards. As time passes, he masters each strategies and it will become a fighter like no different in the future. After education, the prisoner tells him that he has discovered the whole thing. There's to the lion's roar fashion and is now geared up to stand. The wooded guys take a look at, understanding that this may be the final time they meet. Earlier than Little Mute graduates, the prisoner offers him a tiny piece of paper that he desires to be taken to the cashier of the Evergreen Medicinal Drug Safe. Seeing that it's miles the least Little Mute can do for his grasp, he concurs. Then comes the day whilst Little Mute is meant to take the very last. Absolutely each person thinks it's miles a funny story till he is going into the wood alley and in reality fights nicely the usage of the talents taught through each his teachers. He manages to defeat the wood dummies in the long run and graduates with flying colorations earlier than leaving the monastery. He is going to fulfill the top monk for the beyond few years. Now no longer even unmarried man or woman is handed the wood take a look at, which makes the monk agree with that Little Mute is doing something special. Little Mute does not say anything, however the grasp ultimately figures out that he met the prisoner. He prays to God for forgiveness on Little Mute's behalf and asks if the prisoner gave him anything. The person remains unswerving to his grasp and does not respond earlier than he leaves. He has surpassed a wood scroll and is requested to fulfill the elegant grasp within at the heels within at. The following scene we see Little Mute assembly the cashier of the medicinal drug safe. Upon studying the message, he right away acknowledges who it's Miles from. It's Miles then found out that the prisoner is none apart from Kang, the chief of the bandits named the inexperienced dragon. He wasn't imprisoned due to the fact he became a chance to the clergyman, however due to the fact he used his talent to unfold violence and kill harmless human beings within the message, he has requested the human beings of his gang to anticipate his go back. Nonetheless ignorant of this, Little Mute keeps dwelling lifestyles as usual. He finally ends up in a eating place in which the individuals of the equal gang are misbehaving with the proprietor's daughter Orchid. Little Mute saves her from the thugs and profits appreciation from her father. As a result, he's allowed to live in there and for so long as he wishes. One night time the clergymen of the Shaolin Monastery pay attention. A noisy roar after they rush to test the cave. They locate it empty. Kang has mastered the lion's roar approach and escaped the equal nighttime. The individuals of the Dragon Gang problem Orchid once more. They need to abduct her and gift her to their grasp as his mistress. Whilst he arrives, she attempts to combat them, however is in the end abducted. Day after today Little Mute and a waiter from Orchid's eating place exit searching outer. On their manner they stumble upon Kang, preventing the clergymen from the monastery who are looking to prevent him from walking away, ignorant of Kang's real identity. Little Mute allows him get away through distracting the clergyman. The crowd chief is grateful and concurs to assist him locate the lacking female and go back. After that, the three visit a eating place to consume. Seeing that Kang hasn't had proper meals in a long term, unexpectedly Kang notices the bald guy's outdoor the residence and kills him, assuming that he's a monk. Whilst the store proprietor retaliates, he refuses to simply accept his mistake and alternatively blames the lifeless guys for being bald and God rattling belches. He even kills the complete circle of relatives of the eating place proprietor in a match of rage. Little Mute is greatly surprised as he in no way notion the man or woman he respects a lot might kill a whole harmless circle of relatives. Whilst he attempts to cause with the person he and the waiter are kicked out of the residence exceptionally sufficient. Whilst the two back to the lodge later, Orchid additionally returns domestic unharmed. She says that the thugs allow her move without pronouncing why. The following day Little Mute randomly recalls the scroll that he became intended to provide to the elegant grasp without losing extra time. He is going to the hill and meets the blind grasp on feeding the scroll. He reveals out that Little Mute is Kang's pupil. First of all he charges Little Mute for selecting the incorrect route, however guarantees to expose him the proper manner. He then well-known shots that he became Kang's grasp within at the monastery and the only who taught the gangster the whole thing approximately kung fu. However, King repaid his grasp with violence and started killing human beings. Misusing his training in the long run, he became captured and imprisoned. However, the elegant Grasp blamed himself for Kang's deeds, fingers blinded himself. This is a feud. The residents of Shihi now lives within the hills as a hermit, however is prepared to assist the monastery if his former scholar is threatening its safety. The cutting-edge head monk is afraid that the clergymen have grown antique if Kang and his gang land an assault at the monastery. They might not be capable of shield themselves. The best man or woman who can assist them is Little Mute, therefore the elegant Grasp fingers him a book containing the remaining kung fu fashion. It's miles the maximum risky and sacred approach of all, which just a few clergymen are capable of grasp over the following few years. Kang and his human beings plan an assault whilst Little Mute trains in his 1/3 kung fu fashion. He's made the whole 300 kilograms of rocks on his shoulders for hours along different brutal sporting activities beneath the scourge of the top money. He manages to grasp the fashion in some years now with 3 special kung fu strategies at his disposal. Little Mute is prepared to combat any warfare, then in the future King and his human beings sooner or later assault the monastery whilst Little Mute attempts to prevent them. Kang laughs, revealing that he became the only who killed his father lengthy in the past as a minimum 300,000 if you best 50 greenbacks now. I am wealthy. A greatly surprised Little Mute speaks for the primary time in years. He well-known shows that he had vowed to in no way allow a phrase out of his mouth till he reveals his father's killer. The revelation is accompanied through a very last showdown among Kang and Little Mute. Kang makes use of lion's roar approach and defense towards all of Little Mute's snake fashion attacks. First of all, the clashing approach works in Kang's favor. However, whilst he attempts to assault, he faces the equal hassle sooner or later. Little Mute makes use of the remaining fashion and turns the combat. Even after being overwhelmed brutally and refusing to land any deadly attacks, he manages to win in the long run to absolutely each person's marvel. King accepts defeat and is glad that his best pupil has mastered the lessons. However, it seems to be a ruse to take Little Mute through marvel. King plans to apply the lethal cutting throat pass on him. However, Little Mute movements simply in time and the assault lands on Kang himself. He dies due to the effects and his gang runs away in worry. With thanks at the final scene, Little Mute returns to the monastery and will become a monk. Subscribe for extra movies like this, activate notifications, and want to assist the channel out. Thanks for watching.